Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Fox, and today I wanted to bring you a quick review of the brand new Achilles Pulse that was released in TU12, or essentially when you finish the final manhunt of the season, which is Fail Out. Now, I'm not going to go into any details around the final mission and the final manhunt. It is a long one. You've got to do a lot of New York stuff, and then you end up back in DC. So it's certainly a long one, but I'm not going to go into what does and does not happen in that mission. It's best for you guys to go for that yourself and listen to the audio tapes and just sort of enjoy that experience yourself. But ultimately, you do get the Achilles Pulse, very similar to the previous two, like the repair trap, the shrapnel trap, quite early on in the mission. In fact, you get it right at the start of the mission, so you don't technically need to complete it. But yeah, it's a pretty good skill. I mean, the overall sort of feel of it is pretty good. I actually quite like how it works. It has a bit of a Division 1 feel to it, in the sense that you just do that increased damage to targets that it pulses. So what we'll do is I'm just going to go through the description, exactly how it works, how you can buff it using mods, and then demonstrate it quickly in the firing range. I'm not going to do any PvE or PvP footage today. I'm going to get some builds ready for it. I've already tested that it doesn't proc headshot talents, such as Headhunter, anything like that, but it is enhanced by weapons that have high headshot damage. So let's have a look at the description first of all. Target a single enemy with a pulse which identifies weaknesses, highlights them, and causes damage to those areas to take headshot damage. Useful for solo players, or as a solo snipers even, or as a support skill, user painting targets for your teammates. So this means that anybody that shoots into your pulsed target will do additional damage to them based on their own headshot modifier. So if we have a look at, I've essentially just equipped it on my Eclipse build because this is tier 6. If you can see here at tier 6, it has an additional 2 zones. Let me quickly go into the breakdown on the right hand side here. So as you go up each tier, you only actually gain an additional zone from tier 3, a further one from tier 4, and then again from tier 5. So these, they're all just +1. So from basically, if you have it on a tier 0 to tier 2 build, you're only going to have the initial 1 zone. If you're anywhere between tier 3 and tier 5 skill, you'll have 2 zones, and then finally at tier 6 you'll have 2 additional zones, making it 3 in total. When you're overcharged, it does highlight more. So what I'll do now is I'll sort of demonstrate exactly how that all works. Actually, just before I do that, I do want to show you a couple of mods that do enhance how this works. So I noticed that I haven't got any mods on the left slot of the Achilles Pulse that do benefit this. I'm assuming Skill Haste would be the best one here. But when you go to the right side, you've got your Skill Haste mods. Effect Duration does enhance it, so it means that it lasts longer. But the one that I found most interesting was the Super Glue mod, which is the increased health. Now this has historically only ever worked on the pulse that you throw at the floor, and it constantly rotates a pulse beam around and lasts a lot longer than anything other than the drone itself from the sharpshooter's tree. So what this will do is increase the health of the zone by an additional 74k in my case, but what that means is that zone that is created has a fixed limit before it disappears. So if we demonstrate that now, where am I? So we're going to the target range. We've got a target set up here. So if you have a look at my body shot damage here, without a crit, it's 111. Headshot damage is 194 without a crit. Just get rid of that target real quick. So when you essentially want to apply this, as you can see, you can just target any enemy. It doesn't have an infinite range, so I can't target this guy over here. So I feel like it's maybe a 5-10 meter range. When we target this, what it will do here, this has only actually given us 2 zones because it's simply as much as this target can have. But if I fire into any of these 2 zones now, I'll do headshot damage. Now it does stack on top of normal headshot damage, so if we shoot this bit here, you'll see it's 194, which is what I was headshot damaging before. But if you go for the head, it's actually more. Now because we've done enough damage to make these boxes disappear, that's it, it's basically gone. You do have a cooldown of anywhere from 30 seconds down to 15. I have turned off the skill haste there, as you can see. So on a skill tier 6 build with skill haste built in, this is just an Eclipse build with, I don't actually think this has got any skill haste. No, not at all, apart from the mods that I've got on here. But you probably could get it even lower than that, 15 seconds, if you just ran a skill haste build or a hardwired build. If you wanted to run this in PvP, for example, you could run the 10-second pulse build, but use the Achilles instead, and then everybody that's shooting into other players would do more damage. If you haven't seen that video yet, that was actually showed to me from a different clan, specifically key codes in VIP. I'll link that video in the top of this video now, actually, so if you want to go straight to that link, you can see how that build performs. But this pulse would work exceptionally well with a tier 6 blue tardigrade build with hardwired, a load of skill haste rolled on, and then you could every 10 seconds with the bulwark just reproc this, target it on an enemy. So PvP it could be very strong with a tardy tank. PvE it's very good, as the description reads, for solo players. But you know, I think it works with anything. If you're running a tier 6 skill build, or any sort of high skill tier build, you could use this to melt bosses faster. The downside is that the zone health is quite low, and once that's gone, it's gone. So you know, you can go over that, technically speaking, if you had a sniper that does, you know, 2-3 million to the head, and you already had headhunter proc from hitting other headshots, then yes, it would do more damage, and whatever that new damage would apply to the body, but that wouldn't reproc headhunter. You have to actually hit them in the head. As it stacks on top of headshot damage when you go for their head, that is still the best way to play it. So you still ideally want to be going for headshots. Either way, it's enhancing the damage to the zones, whether it's head or just a standard part of their body. So yeah, definitely some good uses for this. I think some pretty interesting builds will come out. This is going to absolutely shine in PvP. I think this is definitely a PvP skill. PvE, I'm not that impressed with it. It's okay. Is it worth swapping out for another skill on a skill build? Time will tell. I think only outside of hardwired, its use is going to be limited. But it's definitely an interesting skill. I do like it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some PvP builds with this. Maybe this will bring a lot of the community away from status builds and focus more on weapon-based builds, which is what I've always been hoping for anyway. As I'm sure you all know, or certainly the longer-term subscribers of my channel, that I really don't like status in PvP. I just think it's ruined the experience for a lot of people, and I'm hoping that skills like this will, you know, bring people away from status and maybe start getting them onto AR builds, SMG builds, sniper builds, rifle builds, where they can more reliably land damage using this pulse. And you know, if you run it on a high weapon damage build or a high armor build, the cooldown is quite lengthy anyway, so it's not like it can be abused outside of that hardwired tank build, which even then I don't think that's abusing it necessarily. So yeah, definitely an interesting skill. I will get some PvP and some PvE footage out for you within the next week or so, once I've sort of thought of a few best build ideas. But in the meantime, check out that 10-second pulse build. It'll be in the description below. I think that's going to be one of the strongest places to use this initially. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.